Let's build a raised bed garden. Step 1, lumber, check. Step 2, cut wood. Check. Step 3, we want to drill pilot holes in all the boards so that the ends don't split when we put our screws in. Now, a little tip is to take a piece of scrap 2x4 and put it on the edge, make a line so you know where to drill your holes. And for your pilot hole, all you need is a drill bit that's a little bit smaller than the screws that you're using. And this is 2x10. I'm going to put 3 screws in each board. All right, now that I've pre-drilled all my holes, I've got my boards laid out, lined up, and all I need to do now is seek my screws. And because I've already got these holes drilled, it'll be much easier. All you need to do now is repeat that on the other 3 corners and you're done. Your next step would be to find a flat spot in your yard that gets at least 8 hours of sun, lay down some cardboard, put this on top of it, fill it with soil, put your vegetables in. Now let's go back to the studio. Gardening in the heavy clay soil of North Texas is hard work, so why do it? It's much easier to grow vegetables above our soil than in it. All you need is the right container. Flower pots will work, but if you want to grow a lot of vegetables, you're going to need more space. One of the more popular options is a wooden raised bed. They look good, work great, and will last for years if they're built properly. And we're going to tell you how. Before we get started, you should know that with raised beds, 90% of your expenses are incurred in the first year, and 90% of your labor will be done in the first year. The most important part of this entire process is site selection. You must have sunlight. You need at least 8 hours of direct sun for best results. When it comes to site preparation and why it matters, the most important thing to remember is you've got to get rid of the grass. Usually. Use a shovel or rent a sod cutter and remove the grass completely, as shown in this photo. Or you can cut it and or cover it. To cut it, mow it as low as you can, then scrape it down to the dirt with a shovel or use a weed eater. Then cover it. Lay down cardboard or newspaper to smother any bits you may have missed that might resprout. Now, some people don't bother to cut it. They'll just lay down their newspaper and cardboard directly on the grass. The grass will break down and become mulch or organic matter that feeds your soil. I've had some bad experience with Bermuda grass, so I don't take any chances, and I cut it very aggressively before I lay down my cardboard and my newspaper. As for what size a raised bed should be, the length is up to you, but don't go wider than 4 feet. You'll never be able to reach the middle if you do. And the whole point of a raised bed is that you never walk on the soil, you never compact it. And if you're trying to lean into a really wide bed, well, you defeated the whole purpose. When it comes to wood, you have many choices. There are tons of videos on YouTube showing how to build a raised bed out of everything from wooden pallets to cedar post. Pallets are a mixed bag, as you seldom know what type of wood they are made of or what that wood has been treated with. Cedar is a solid choice because it looks really good and is naturally resistant to rot and decay. The downside is that cedar can be expensive, especially if you're building multiple beds. For its combination of price and longevity, pressure-treated lumber is the go-to option for many gardeners. It will last for 10 to 15 years or more and is readily available and affordable. If you're concerned about the safety of pressure-treated lumber, check the links below for an excellent article from Iowa State University. The bottom line is that today's pressure-treated wood is safe for use in growing food crops. If you're still wary, use cedar or consider cinder blocks or galvanized steel. So to recap, lumber, pressure-treated or not, pressure-treated wood is safe. The people who say it's not are aware that years ago it was treated with arsenic, and they have not done that in the United States for at least 15 years. It's now treated with a couple of different processes that use copper. And of course, cinder blocks or galvanized steel are options. One last thing about pressure-treated lumber, make sure your screws are designed for use on pressure-treated wood. It'll say so right on the box. If you use any old screws that you find maybe laying around in the garage or that you've had for years, the copper that's used to treat the pressure-treated lumber could cause those to corrode, and eventually your boards are just going to pop apart. And if you want the bare minimum of construction, you can buy raised bed kits that are easy to assemble. But do not use railroad ties. They are treated with creosote, which should never be used if it will contact food. I repeat, do not use railroad ties. They are treated with creosote, and creosote is a restricted use pesticide and preservative containing a mixture of 200 to 400 different compounds. Creosote should never be used if it will contact food or drinking water. As for tools and technique, what to use and how to use it, well, my advice is if you've never used a circular saw, either buy a kit or hire a professional or watch some YouTube videos or take a class. Essentially, you'll just need a drill, a circular saw, a tape measure, screws, and a level if you're really wanting to be precise. And a lot of times you can go to the big box stores and buy your lumber and have them cut it for you right there, so you might not even need the saw. You can overlap the corners or not. If you're not sure what that means, try YouTube or leave a comment below and we'll try to answer that for you. If you're going higher than 12 inches or longer than 6 feet, you should cross brace because wet soil is heavy and it exerts a lot of outward pressure. And one important tip, pre-drill the holes for your screws. This will prevent the ends of your boards from splitting. Now, when it comes to filling and planting, you'll need to know what and how much. And to know how much, you've got to calculate how many cubic feet of soil you need. And that's simply length times width times height to get your cubic feet. So if you have a bed that's 8 feet long, 4 feet wide, and 1 foot high, it needs 32 cubic feet of soil to fill it, because 8 times 4 times 1 equals 32. Now, if you're using inches, divide the total by 1,728, as in 96 inches times 48 inches times 12 inches equals 55,296 inches, cubic inches. Divide that by 1,728 and you get 32 cubic feet. And do not fill with potting soil. If you're going to the time and expense of building a raised bed garden, you're obviously in this for the long haul, and you intend to grow vegetables year after year after year in this same bed. And potting soil is fine for a season or a year, but it just doesn't have the heft to it that your vegetables are going to need. A lot of these plants are tall, corn, okra, and your eggplants and tomatoes can get very large, and they need something that they can really anchor into, and potting soil just isn't it. Novice gardeners focus on growing healthy plants, but experienced gardeners focus on building healthy soil. So you want to start with as good a soil as you can get. At Shades of Green, we sell a 3-away mix. It's a nice sandy loam with some compost in it and some pine bark. That pine bark adds a little acidity to the soil, which your vegetables will certainly appreciate. That's sold by the yard and the half yard, so bring a truck because we don't deliver that. Texas Pure has a planting mix that we really like. It comes in a 1 cubic foot bag. And Soil Mender makes 2 products. One is a raised bed mix, which has lots of goodness in it. And then they also have a topsoil. I'm not a huge fan of topsoil because you're going to want to amend that with compost because by itself, it's just not enough in my opinion. As far as compost, again, Texas Pure makes a bag product, 1 cubic foot bag. There's also a cotton burr compost. It comes in a 2 cubic foot bag. Either one of those are great. Any compost is probably going to be beneficial to your soil, and this is something you'll probably add a little bit of to every single year to your garden. It's going to add the micronutrients that your plants need. It's going to feed the soil, feed your plants, and it's just your go-to thing for the health and of your soil and your plants. As far as fertilizer is concerned, I'm a big fan of the products from Espoma. These 3 especially. Garden Tone is great for pretty much everything. If you plan to grow a lot of tomatoes, I highly recommend Tomato Tone. If it's a brand new bed, which it probably is if you're watching this video and taking this class, Biotone Starter Plus is what you want. It's going to have all the great goodness of Garden Tone in it, but it's also going to have some mycorrhizal fungi that's going to really help kickstart your soil and get those micronutrients going in it, which is going to feed your plants. And then there's also Texas tea. Now, this is often used by a lot of people as a lawn fertilizer, but it's wonderful stuff. And you can put it on your flowers, your trees, your vegetables. It's organic. It's made here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We're big fans of the product, and I know plenty of people who put it on their vegetables. And if you want to add some supplements, you could use Super Thrive. This is great when you're putting a transplant in the ground. It's like a multivitamin for your plants. And then Recharge is another product that you can mix with water and pour on, and it's also going to increase the microbial activity in your soil, feed those micronutrients, which will then in turn feed your plants and help them be strong and healthy. And there you have it. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to build a raised bed garden. It will take some effort, but it is worth it. Few things in life are more rewarding or satisfying than growing your own food. It really is something that anyone can do at any age. My advice is to give it a try. You'll be glad you did. I'm Tim, and this has been the Shades of Green Show. Thanks for watching.